The root ball of the giant bird of paradise was fighting back. Maya struggled against the stubborn plant, her boots sliding against the wet concrete floor of the shop. It was a battle of wills. On one side, a 24-year-old woman with messy hair the color of espresso and a flannel shirt that had seen better decades. On the other side, 100 pounds of tangled roots and angry green leaves that refused to leave their cracked ceramic pot. Rain lashed against the front windows of the greenhouse, blurring the gray Seattle street outside. It was a miserable Tuesday morning. The kind of morning that leaked into your shoes and made you question why anyone would choose to live in a city where the sun was merely a rumor. Maya grunted, heaving upward. The plant finally gave way with a wet, sucking sound that echoed through the empty shop. Dirt exploded everywhere. It covered her apron. It splattered across her cheek. It landed in her mouth. She sputtered, spitting out grit. Great, just great. She now tasted like potting soil and defeat. She looked over at the counter where a sad, drooping monstera plant sat in a chipped terracotta pot. "You see this, Monty?" Meyer asked, wiping her forehead with a muddy forearm. "This is why we cannot have nice things. Because nice things require dignity and I clearly have none." The monstera, whom she had named Monty during a particularly lonely week last November, did not reply. One of his leaves was turning a crispy shade of brown, which Maya took as a silent judgment of her life choices. The bell above the shop door chimed. It was not a friendly ring. It was an aggressive, impatient jingle that announced the arrival of a headache. Maya did not need to turn around to know who it was. The smell hit her first. It was a cloud of floral perfume so strong it tasted chemical, like a cleaning product trying to mask a crime scene. "Maya, honestly, look at you." The voice was sharp, nasal, and dripping with disappointment. Maya stood up, wiping her hands on her jeans, which only succeeded in transferring the mud from her palms to her thighs. She turned to face the intruder. Standing in the doorway, looking entirely out of place among the ferns and humid air, was her Aunt Karen. Beside her stood Cousin Tiffany. They looked like a matching set of expensive beige luggage. Karen was wearing a cream-colored trench coat that probably cost more than Maya's delivery van, and Tiffany was scrolling on her phone, wearing sunglasses indoors because apparently fluorescent lights were too aggressive for her influencer lifestyle. "Hello, Aunt Karen," Maya said, trying to summon a shred of patience. "Tiffany, to what do I owe the pleasure? And by pleasure, I mean the sudden spike in my blood pressure." Karen stepped gingerly over a puddle of water, her nose wrinkled as if she had just stepped into a sewer rather than a flower shop. "We need to talk, Maya. Now, I am working." Maya gestured to the explosion of dirt on the floor. "This bird of paradise is not going to repot itself." "Leave the weed," Karen snapped. "This is about the shop and the debt." The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Maya froze. The debt. It was the monster living in the closet, the shadow that followed her every step since her father had passed away 2 years ago. Maya's father had been a genius with plants and a disaster with finances. He had borrowed money to keep the greenhouse alive, leveraging everything they owned against loans managed by Karen's husband, Maya's Uncle Gary. When her dad died, the shop, the debt, and the crushing weight of legacy had fallen squarely onto Maya's muddy shoulders. "We have a payment plan," Maya said, her voice tighter than she intended. "I paid the installment last month. I will pay this month's on Friday." Karen laughed. It was a dry, brittle sound. "Oh, honey, that payment plan was a courtesy, a kindness we extended to family, but patience has a limit and you have reached it." Tiffany looked up from her phone, popping a bubble of gum. "Mom says you are going to lose the shop," she said, sounding as bored as if she were reading a weather report. Maya felt a cold stone settle in her stomach. She looked from Tiffany to Karen. "What is she talking about?" Karen reached into her designer bag and pulled out a thick, cream-colored envelope. She slapped it onto the dirty counter, right next to Monty the monstera. You are 3 months behind on the balloon interest payments, Maya. We could foreclose on you this afternoon. We could sell this damp little shack to a developer who wants to turn it into a vape shop or a condo complex. And legally, we would be in the right. Maya's hands curled into fists at her sides. She felt the grit of the soil under her fingernails. This shop was her life. It was the smell of damp earth and jasmine. It was the memory of her dad humming while he watered the orchids. "You cannot do that," Maya whispered. "I can," Karen corrected, "and I will. Unless—" She let the word hang in the air, suspended there like a guillotine blade. Unless what? Karen tapped a manicured fingernail on the envelope she had placed on the counter. "Unless you fix it." Maya frowned, looking at the envelope. It was heavy, expensive cardstock. The logo embossed on the top was a stylized silver leaf. "What is this?" Karen smiled, and it was the smile of a shark that had just cornered a seal. "This, my dear, is your salvation. And mine." Maya picked up the envelope. Her muddy thumb left a smudge on the pristine paper. She opened it. Inside was a letter printed in elegant silver typography. "Congratulations, Miss Miller. You have been selected as a finalist for the Face of Sterling." Maya read it twice. The words made no sense. "The Face of Sterling?" she asked, looking up. "You mean the resort company? The ones who charge $1,000 for a massage where they slap you with bamboo?" "Sterling Sanctuaries," Karen corrected reverently. "The most exclusive luxury wellness brand in the world. They are launching a search for their new brand ambassador. The winner gets a 1-year contract, global exposure, and a signing bonus of $1 million. Maya dropped the letter back onto the counter. It landed with a soft slap. "Okay, so what does this have to do with me?" Karen's smile widened, revealing teeth that were aggressively white. "I entered you." Maya blinked. "You what?" "I submitted an application on your behalf," Karen said, examining her cuticles. "I wrote a very moving essay about your rustic charm, your connection to the earth, your tragic backstory. They ate it up. They picked you for the final 30 candidates." Maya let out a short, incredulous laugh. "You are insane. I am not a model, Karen. I am a florist. I spend my days covered in manure and fighting aphids. I am not going on a reality show to compete against women who look like Tiffany." "Hey," Tiffany protested, finally looking up. "No," Maya said firmly, turning back to the bird of paradise. "Absolutely not. Unsubscribe, delete." Karen's voice turned steel hard. "Then start packing, Maya, because if you do not get on that plane to the Sterling headquarters tomorrow morning, I am foreclosing on this shop by noon." Maya stopped. The silence in the shop was deafening. Even the rain seemed to pause. "You are blackmailing me." "I am motivating you," Karen said, smoothing her coat. "Look, it is simple math. The prize money is $1 million. You win that, you pay off the debt, you keep the shop. You lose, well, at least you got a free vacation before you become homeless." Maya turned around slowly. The anger was boiling in her chest, hot and suffocating. "And what do you get out of this, Karen? You never do anything for free." Karen shrugged, a delicate motion of her shoulders. "I listed myself as your manager. I get 20% of the winnings. Plus, the exposure will be excellent for my event planning business. It is a win-win." Maya looked at the letter. $1 million. It was an impossible amount of money. It was enough to fix the leaky roof, upgrade the greenhouse heaters, and banish Aunt Karen from her life forever. But to get it, she had to enter a world she despised. A world of fake smiles, filtered photos, and people who thought owning a succulent made them nature lovers. "I cannot win this," Maya said, her voice quiet. "Look at me, Karen. I am a disaster." Karen walked over and patted Maya's muddy cheek. The gesture was patronizing, cold, and entirely fake. "Oh, I know you cannot win on looks, darling. Tiffany would destroy you in a swimsuit round. But the show is not just about beauty this year. They want authenticity. They want a story. And you are pathetic enough to be interesting." Maya pulled away, her jaw tight. "Get out of my shop." Karen checked her diamond watch. "I will send the car for you at 6 a.m. tomorrow. Do not be late. And for heaven's sake, Maya, Try to shower, you smell like compost." With that, Karen turned and clicked her heels toward the door. Tiffany followed, pausing only to look at the dying monstera. "You," she said profoundly, "that plant looks depressed." Then they were gone. The bell jingled again, silence rushing back into the shop. Maya stood there for a long time. She looked at the giant bird of paradise lying on its side, roots exposed. She looked at the cracked linoleum floor. She looked at the photo of her dad taped to the cash register, his smile wide and crinkled at the corners. $1 million. She looked at Monty. "Well, Monty," she sighed, the sound heavy in the empty room, "it looks like we are going to the circus." The automatic glass doors of Sterling headquarters slid open with a whisper of expensive engineering. Maya Miller stood on the sidewalk, staring into the abyss. Well, not exactly an abyss. It was a lobby. But calling this space a lobby was like calling the Titanic a boat. It was a cathedral of minimalism. The floors were polished white marble that looked slippery enough to break a hip on. The ceiling soared 3 stories high, supported by pillars of chrome and glass. In the center of the vast, echoing space sat a reception desk that looked less like a piece of furniture and more like the control deck of a starship. And the silence, it was aggressive. The kind of silence that demanded good posture and a credit score over 800 just to breathe the filtered air. Maya looked down at her sneakers. They were Converse. They were scuffed. One lace was slightly frayed. She looked at her suitcase. It was a neon pink hard-shell nightmare she had borrowed from Cousin Tiffany's reject pile because her own duffel bag had a hole in the bottom. And then she looked at Monty. The large monstera plant was balanced precariously on top of the pink suitcase, secured with a bungee cord that had seen better days. Monty's one brown leaf fluttered in the draft from the air conditioning. "We do not belong here," Maya whispered to the plant. "We are going to be escorted out by security guards who look like supermodels." But behind her, the bustling noise of downtown Seattle pushed her forward. She had a one-way ticket, a forged application, and the crushing weight of a massive debt waiting for her if she turned around. She took a deep breath. It smelled like ozone and white tea. Okay, showtime. Maya stepped across the threshold. Immediately, she felt the atmosphere shift. The air inside was cool, dry, and judgmental. Her sneakers squeaked against the marble. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The sound echoed off the glass walls like a siren announcing her lack of elegance. Heads turned. Not many, because the lobby was sparsely populated with people who looked like they were sculpted from marble themselves. A man in a charcoal suit glanced up from a tablet. A woman wearing 6-inch heels and a headset paused her conversation. They looked at Maya. Then they looked at the neon pink suitcase. Then they looked at the large, sad potted plant strapped to it. Maya kept her chin up, or at least she tried to. "Just walk to the desk," she told herself. "Check in. Do not make eye contact. Do not trip." She gripped the handle of the suitcase. The wheels rumbled across the floor. Rumble, clatter, rumble. It sounded like a skateboard riding over a cheese grater. "Come on, Tiffany," Maya muttered, cursing her cousin's taste in luggage. "Why did you buy the suitcase that sounds like a dying tractor?" She was halfway to the reception desk when the first sign of trouble appeared. The front left wheel of the suitcase began to wobble. It was not a gentle wobble. It was a violent, erratic shake that traveled up the handle and vibrated into Maya's arm. She tried to correct the course, steering gently to the right. The suitcase resisted. It wanted to go left. It wanted to go into the decorative fountain. "No, no, no," Maya hissed, using 2 hands to wrestle the handle. Suddenly, the wheel decided it had had enough of this capitalist architecture. With a sharp, plastic snap, the wheel locked sideways. The suitcase stopped dead. Maya did not. Momentum is a cruel mistress. Maya's body kept moving forward while her luggage remained stationary. Her hip checked the handle. The bungee cord, strained to its limit, gave a final, exhausted groan. Snap. The cord broke. Monty the Monstera was liberated. The heavy terracotta pot launched into the air in a slow, graceful arc. It was almost beautiful in a horrifying way. Maya watched it fly, her hands reaching out in a futile attempt to catch it. No, she yelped. Time seemed to slow down. At that exact moment, the private elevator banks on the far side of the lobby dinged softly. The doors slid open. A man stepped out. If the lobby was a cathedral of minimalism, this man was its high priest. He was tall, disturbingly tall. He wore a navy blue suit that fit him so perfectly it looked like it had been tattooed onto his body. His shirt was a crisp, blinding white. His tie was a knot of geometric perfection. He was looking down at a stack of documents in his hand, walking with the long, confident strides of a man who owned the floor he walked on. He did not see the plant. He did not see Maya lunging forward like a goalkeeper trying to save a penalty kick. He took 1 step, 2 steps. "Look out!" Maya screamed. The man looked up. His eyes were a startling, icy gray. For a split second they widened in confusion. Then gravity completed its work. Monty the Monstera, along with 5 pounds of damp, organic, worm-enriched potting soil, made contact. The pot did not hit him directly. That would have been a medical emergency. Instead, the pot clipped his shoulder, flipped in the air, and emptied its entire contents down the front of his pristine navy suit. A heavy, wet thud echoed through the lobby. The pot shattered on the marble floor. Crash. Dirt. Everywhere, dark, moist soil cascaded down the man's chest. It clung to his silk tie. It slid down his lapels. A large, intact earthworm landed on his white collar and wiggled confusedly. Silence. Absolute, total, suffocating silence. The man stopped. He looked down at his chest. He looked at the dirt ruining a suit that probably cost more than Maya's entire rent for the year. He lifted a hand slowly and touched the soil. He rubbed it between his fingers, his expression unreadable. Maya scrambled to her feet, horrified. She rushed toward him, pulling a crumpled tissue from her pocket. "Oh my goodness! I am so sorry. I am so sorry." She reached out to brush the dirt off his jacket, but he flinched back as if she were radioactive. "Do not," he said. His voice was low, deep, and colder than the bottom of the ocean. "Do not touch the fabric. You will grind it in." Maya froze, her hand hovering in the air. "Right. Yes, physics. Sorry, my suitcase wheel. The plant. It just flew." She knew she was babbling. She knew she sounded like an idiot. But his eyes were locked on hers, and they were terrifying. They were not angry. Anger would have been easier. They were calculating. He was looking at her like she was a bug that had just flown into his champagne. He looked at the shattered pot on the floor. He looked at the earthworm wiggling on his collar. With 2 fingers, he picked up the worm and dropped it onto the marble. "Are you here for the delivery entrance?" he asked. The question was polite, but the tone was cutting. Maya flushed. "No, I am. I am here for the competition." The face of Sterling. For the first time, an emotion crossed his face. Disbelief. He scanned her from her messy hair to her muddy flannel shirt down to her scuffed Converse. "You?" "Yes, me," Maya snapped, her embarrassment turning into defensiveness. "Is there a problem?" The man took a deep breath. He pulled a pristine white handkerchief from his pocket and wiped his hands. "No problem," he said, though the word clearly meant the opposite. "The cleaning crew will handle this." He stepped around the pile of dirt, around the shattered pot, and around Maya. He did not look back. He just kept walking toward the exit, leaving a trail of potting soil behind him. Maya stood there, shaking. A security guard approached her, looking sympathetic but firm. "Miss, check-in is on the 2nd floor, and maybe leave the dirt here." Maya looked at Monty, who was now lying naked and root-bound on the cold marble floor. "I am sorry, Monty," she whispered, scooping up the plant and cradling it in her arms like a baby. "I think we just made an enemy." She did not know how right she was. She did not know that the man covered in her dirt was not just an employee. She had just assaulted Liam Sterling, the CEO, the billionaire. and the man who held her future in his very clean, very manicured hands. The dining room of the Sterling Institute was not designed for eating. It was designed for surveillance. It was a glass cube suspended over the city of Seattle, glowing like a bioluminescent jellyfish in the night sky. The walls were floor-to-ceiling windows. The table was a slab of backlit obsidian, and everywhere, hidden in the sleek architecture, were the lenses, tiny, blinking eyes, 14 cameras, 360 degrees of coverage. It was 8 p.m. The live stream had begun exactly 3 minutes ago. Maya sat at the long, dark table, wishing she could dissolve into the floor. She was wearing a dress that Aunt Karen had pulled from the back of a discount bridal warehouse. It was blue, not a nice ocean blue. It was the color of a chemically treated swimming pool. It was made of a fabric that rustled loudly every time she breathed, and it was tight in all the places it should be loose, and loose in all the places it should be tight. Across from her sat Vanessa. Vanessa did not rustle. Vanessa glided. She was wearing a slip dress that looked like it was woven from liquid silver. Her hair was pulled back in a bun so severe it probably acted as a facelift. She was currently smiling at a camera that was hidden in a flower arrangement, projecting an aura of Zen calm that terrified Maya to her core. Next to Vanessa was the third finalist, a girl named Chloe who had not stopped checking her reflection in her spoon since they sat down. The air in the room was cold. It smelled of expensive candles and fear. A waiter appeared from the shadows. He moved with the silence of a ninja assassin. He placed a plate in front of Maya. "Dinner is served," he whispered and vanished. Maya looked down. On the center of the giant black plate sat a rock, just a rock, a smooth gray river stone, and on top of the rock was a single trembling blob of white foam. "What is this?" Maya whispered, staring at the foam. "Did the dishwasher explode?" Vanessa let out a small, elegant laugh. It sounded like wind chimes made of ice. "Oh, Maya, you are so funny. It is a palate cleanser. See, air foam with a hint of yuzu. It opens the chakras." Vanessa picked up a tiny silver spoon, scooped up the foam, and swallowed it with a look of orgasmic delight. Divine. You can really taste the ocean breeze." Maya looked at her rock. She was starving. She had not eaten since a granola bar at 6 a.m. She poked the foam. It dissolved instantly. "Great," she thought. "I am eating air. I am going to starve to death on live television." Somewhere in the building, high above them in the executive control room, Liam Sterling was watching. He stood in front of a wall of monitors. The blue light of the screens reflected in his gray eyes. He had changed out of the soil-ruined suit and was now wearing a black turtleneck that made him look like a villain in a spy movie. He crossed his arms, staring at screen 4. "Zoom in on the girl in the blue dress," he ordered. The technician tapped a keyboard. The screen filled with Maya's face. She looked terrified, she looked messy. A strand of hair had escaped her ponytail and was sticking to her lip gloss. "She is a disaster," Liam muttered. "Why is she even here?" "She polled high in the preliminary algorithm, sir," the technician said nervously. "The demographic analysis suggests people find her." "Relatable." "Relatable?" Liam scoffed. "She looks like she is being held hostage by that dress." Back in the dining room, the main course arrived. The ninja waiter returned. He swapped the rocks for bowls. Inside Maya's bowl was a single oyster, but it was not just an oyster. It was an oyster sitting on a bed of crushed ice, topped with gold leaf and what looked like radioactive green caviar. Raw, Maya thought, of course. Slimy ocean boogers. Vanessa clapped her hands delightedly. Oysters, a classic aphrodisiac. How bold! She looked straight into the camera lens hidden in the centerpiece. "I love a man who appreciates the classics," she purred, clearly auditioning for the role of Mrs. Sterling. Maya picked up her oyster fork. It was tiny. It felt like a weapon designed for a hamster. "Okay," she told herself. "Just eat it, swallow it whole, do not chew, do not think about the texture, just protein." She stabbed the oyster, or she tried to. The oyster was slippery. It was covered in some kind of gourmet oil. The tiny fork skidded off the meat, clink. The sound of metal hitting shell was sharp in the quiet room. Vanessa glanced over, a smirk playing on her lips. Need some help there, sweetie. It requires a delicate touch, not a shovel. Maya gritted her teeth. I got it, thanks. She tried again. She pinned the oyster against the shell. She applied pressure, too much pressure. Physics is a heartless law. When force is applied to a lubricated object on a curved surface, the result is propulsion. The oyster did not just slide, it launched, squelch. The shellfish shot out of the shell like a wet missile. It flew through the air, rotating in slow motion. Drops of green caviar scattered like shrapnel. Maya watched in horror. Vanessa watched in glee. The oyster sailed across the obsidian table. It cleared the centerpiece. It missed Vanessa's wine glass by a millimeter. And then, with a wet, decisive sound, it landed, plop, right into the crystal water pitcher in the center of the table. The impact sent a splash of water onto the table. The oyster sank to the bottom of the pitcher, resting there like a drowned alien. Silence. The kind of silence that usually follows a car crash. Vanessa's mouth fell open. Chloe stopped looking at her spoon. Oh my God, Vanessa whispered, loud enough for the microphones to pick up. You are such a klutz. Maya sat frozen. Her fork was still hovering in the air. Her face was burning so hot she thought she might spontaneously combust. She could feel the cameras zooming in. She could feel the millions of eyes on the internet judging her. This was it. The end. She was the girl who threw food. She was the joke. In the control room, Liam leaned forward. Cut the feed, the technician asked, hand hovering over the button. Wait, Liam said. On the screen, Maya lowered her fork. She looked at the pitcher. She looked at the oyster at the bottom. And then she did something unexpected. She did not cry. She did not run away. She leaned forward, resting her chin on her hand, and stared directly at the submerged mollusk. A microphone built into the table picked up her whisper. It was soft, raspy, and completely defeated. Go, little guy, she whispered to the oyster. Be free. Swim away from this madness. You are the only one of us who escaped. She patted the side of the pitcher gently. Godspeed. Then she picked up a piece of bread from the side plate, shoved the whole thing in her mouth, and looked at Vanessa. What? Maya mumbled through a mouthful of carbs. He looked trapped. In the control room, the silence was broken. The technician was laughing. He was trying to suppress it, but a snort escaped. Liam stared at the screen. He watched Maya chewing the bread like a squirrel storing nuts for winter. He watched the way she saluted the pitcher, and the corner of his mouth twitched. Just a fraction of a millimeter, a microscopic crack in the ice, sir. The technician pointed at the analytics monitor. Look at the chat. Liam looked. The feed of comments was scrolling so fast it was a blur. Ha, the whisper. She set him free, Team Oyster. Forget the model, I want the bread girl. #free the oyster is trending. #1 in the US. Liam looked back at Maya's face on the screen. She was wiping crumbs off her mouth with the back of her hand, completely ignoring the linen napkin. She is ridiculous, Liam said, but he didn't look away. Bring me the engagement report, he ordered, turning away from the screen. And get someone to bring her a sandwich. If she eats the centerpiece, we are going to have a lawsuit. The next morning, the conference room at Sterling headquarters smelled like fear and espresso. It was a stark, white room with a view of the Seattle skyline, which was currently shrouded in gray fog. A long glass table dominated the space. Liam sat at the head of the table. He was wearing a gray suit today, immaculate, sharp, and intimidating. He was scrolling through a tablet, his face a mask of boredom. On the other side of the table stood the marketing team, looking nervous. And sitting in the guest chairs were the 3 finalists. Vanessa looked perfect. She was wearing a white power suit and holding a green juice. She looked like she had slept 8 hours in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. Chloe was asleep with her eyes open. And Maya. Maya looked like she had lost a fight with a hair dryer. Her hair was pulled into a messy bun that was slowly migrating to the side of her head. She was wearing jeans and a black t-shirt that said "Plants are friends" in faded letters. She was also trying to hide a yawn. Liam placed the tablet on the table with a sharp click. "Let us review the numbers from last night's dinner," he said. His voice was smooth, calm, and terrifying. A marketing executive named Brad stood up. Brad was wearing glasses that were too big for his face and sweating profusely. "Yes, Mr. Sterling." The live stream reached peak viewership at 8:14 p.m. Liam looked at Maya. 8:14 p.m. The exact moment of the oyster incident. Brad clicked a remote. A graph appeared on the wall screen. It showed a flat line and then a massive vertical spike that went off the chart. As you can see, Brad stammered, engagement was unprecedented. Vanessa cleared her throat. It was a polite, sharp sound. "If I may, Mr. Sterling." Liam nodded once. "Proceed." Vanessa stood up. She smoothed her jacket. She gestured to the screen. "While the numbers are high, we must consider the quality of the engagement." She turned to glare at Maya. This display was humiliating for the brand. Sterling Sanctuaries is about elegance, poise, control. What Maya did was a circus act. She turned a Michelin star dinner into a slapstick comedy routine. Vanessa pulled out her phone. "Look at the comments. They are laughing at us, not with us." "Oyster Girl," "Bread Goblin." "Is this the face you want for a billion-dollar luxury brand?" "A woman who talks to seafood." Maya shrank in her chair. She felt small. Vanessa was right. She was a joke. She should just go home, hug Monty, and accept the foreclosure. She looked down at her hands. "I am sorry," she whispered. The fork was slippery. Liam watched her. He saw the way her shoulders slumped. He saw the genuine shame in her eyes. He looked at Vanessa. Vanessa was smiling, confident that she had won. "Brad," Liam said, not looking away from Vanessa, "pull up the sentiment analysis." Brad clicked the remote again. A pie chart appeared. It was 90% green. "Green means positive, Mr. Sterling," Brad said. "People are using words like real, authentic, finally human, and relatable." Liam leaned back in his chair. He tented his fingers. "Interesting," he said softly. He turned his gaze to Vanessa. "You speak of elegance, Vanessa. You speak of control." Vanessa preened. "Yes, Mr. Sterling, that is the Sterling way." "Is it," Liam asked, "or is it the boring way?" Vanessa's smile faltered. "Excuse me." Liam stood up. He walked over to the window, looking out at the fog. "For 10 years, this company has sold perfection. We sell airbrushed retreats. We sell silence. We sell the idea that if you drink enough kale juice, you will never be sad again." He turned back to the room. "And our sales have flatlined." He walked toward Maya. He stopped right in front of her. Maya looked up, her heart hammering against her ribs. He smelled like sandalwood and rain. "You," he said, looking down at her. Maya swallowed. "Me." "You are a mess," Liam stated. "Ouch," Maya thought. "You are clumsy. You have no fashion sense. You treat a children's plant like a relative." "Hey, Monty is sensitive," Maya muttered automatically. Liam ignored her. "But the data does not lie. People are tired of perfect robots, Vanessa. They are tired of being sold an impossible dream." He looked at the screen again. "They like her because she fails." Maya blinked. Was that a compliment? It felt like a compliment wrapped in an insult, dipped in confusion. "So, I am staying?" Maya asked. Liam looked at her. His eyes drifted to the messy bun on her head. He had an urge to reach out and fix it, to pull out the pin and let the hair fall. He shoved his hands into his pockets. "For now," he said. He turned to the marketing team. "The next challenge is the greenhouse pitch, tomorrow night. I want to see how they handle the product. No scripts, no teleprompters, just passion." He looked at Vanessa. "Let us see if your elegance can sell something real." Vanessa's jaw tightened. She glared at Maya with pure venom. "And you, Miss Miller," Liam added, walking back to the door. Maya sat up straight. "Yes, try not to throw any vegetables this time." He walked out. The heavy door clicked shut behind him. The room exhaled. Vanessa turned to Maya. Her voice was low and dangerous. "Do not think this makes you special, farm girl. He is keeping you around as a pet, a court jester to boost the ratings. When the real business starts, you will be gone." Maya stood up. She picked up her bag. She felt a spark of anger in her chest. "Maybe," Maya said, "or maybe he just likes bread." She walked out, head held high, but as soon as she hit the hallway, she slumped against the wall and exhaled a long, shaky breath. She had survived, but now she had to pitch, and she had to do it in a greenhouse. Wait, she thought, a greenhouse. A slow smile spread across her face. Plants, dirt, humidity, finally, she thought. Home court advantage. It was 2 a.m. The Sterling estate was asleep. The lights in the dormitories were off. The security guards were doing their rounds in hushed silence, but Maya was awake. She lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling. Her mind was racing. The pitch was tomorrow. She needed an idea. Aunt Karen had texted her 37 times with suggestions ranging from botox for begonias to gold-plated shovels. "I need air," Maya whispered. She grabbed her robe, slipped on her Converse, and snuck out of the room. She navigated the hallways like a ghost, avoiding the cameras that had red blinking lights. She knew where she was going. She had seen it on the map. The solarium. It was a glass structure on the south side of the campus, housing the rare tropical collection. Maya reached the door. It was unlocked. She slipped inside. The air hit her instantly. It was warm, thick, and smelled of damp earth and chlorophyll. It was the best smell in the world. Maya exhaled, her shoulders dropping 2 inches. "Hello, beauties," she whispered into the darkness. Moonlight filtered through the glass roof, illuminating rows of towering palms, cascading ferns, and orchids that looked like alien butterflies. Maya walked down the center path, trailing her hand over the leaves. She felt the rough texture of a palm trunk, the velvety softness of a begonia. She found a bench hidden behind a wall of jasmine. She sat down, pulling her knees to her chest. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, crumpled photo of her dad. "Hey, Dad," she whispered. "I am in over my head. I am surrounded by sharks in suits. I do not know how to be a brand ambassador. I just know how to keep things from dying." She closed her eyes, leaning her head back against the bench. "Is that enough?" she asked the empty room. "Is just keeping things alive enough?" "No, it is not." The voice came from the shadows. Maya jumped, nearly falling off the bench. She scrambled up, clutching her robe. "Who is there?" A figure stepped out from behind a large Monstera Deliciosa. It was Liam. He was not wearing a suit. He was wearing gray sweatpants and a white t-shirt. His feet were bare. His hair was messy. Actually messy, not styled messy. He looked human. Maya stared at him. "Are you stalking me?" she asked, her heart racing. "Or do you just sleep in the mulch?" Liam walked closer. He did not look angry. He looked tired. There were dark circles under his eyes that the studio lighting usually hid. "I could ask you the same thing, Miss Miller." "This is a restricted area. I needed to breathe," Maya said defensively. "The air in the dorms is too processed. It tastes like plastic." Liam sat down on the bench she had just vacated. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "I know," he said softly. "That is why I come here." Maya blinked. "You, the man who tried to murder a worm, you come to the greenhouse." Liam looked up at her. A half-smile ghosted his lips. "It is the only place in the headquarters where the silence is real. Not manufactured soundproofing, just life." He gestured to the plants. "They do not care about stock prices. They do not care about quarterly earnings. They just grow." Maya looked at him, really looked at him. For the first time, she saw past the billionaire facade. She saw a man who was carrying a weight he hadn't asked for. "It is about the roots," she said, sitting back down, leaving a safe foot of distance between them. Liam turned to her. "The roots." Maya nodded. She pointed to the massive monstera behind him. "People see the big, shiny leaves. They see the fruit, but the work happens in the dark, underground, in the dirt." She looked at her hands, rough and calloused. "You cannot have the beauty without the mess, Liam. You want Sterling sanctuaries to be perfect. You want no dirt, no weeds, but if you sanitize everything, you kill it." Liam stared at her. The moonlight caught the intensity in his gray eyes. "Is that what I am doing?" he asked. "Killing it." Maya hesitated. She was talking to the CEO. She should lie. She should flatter him, but she was Maya. She couldn't fake it if she tried. "Yes," she said honestly. "You are suffocating it. You are trying to put nature in a straitjacket. It doesn't work. Nature is chaotic. It is wild. It is clumsy," Liam suggested, raising an eyebrow. Maya laughed, a real snorting laugh. "Yes, clumsy. It drops things. It grows sideways. It breaks the pot." Liam looked down at his hands. He was quiet for a long time. "My father built this company," he said, his voice low. "He was obsessed with order. He believed chaos was a sign of weakness." Maya watched him. "He was wrong," she said firmly. Liam looked at her. "Chaos is where the growth happens," Maya said. "A seed has to break open to grow. It has to destroy itself to become something new. That is violent, that is messy, but it is necessary." Liam held her gaze. The air between them felt charged, heavy with something unspoken. It wasn't just about plants anymore. "You are very different from the others, Maya. Is that a good thing?" Liam reached out. For a second, Maya thought he was going to touch her hand. His fingers brushed against the sleeve of her robe. "I am starting to think," he whispered, "that it is the only thing." The moment stretched. The humidity in the room seemed to rise. Maya's breath caught in her throat. Then a sprinkler system hissed to life overhead. TSSSSSSSSS. A fine mist of water sprayed down on them. Maya shrieked. Cold, Liam jumped up. He was laughing, actually laughing. It was a rusty sound, like an engine that hadn't been started in years, but it was real. "Run," he shouted. They sprinted down the path, dodging the rotating sprinkler heads. Maya slipped on a wet leaf, sliding sideways. Liam caught her arm, steadying her. For a moment they were close, chest to chest. Maya could see the flecks of gold in his gray eyes. She could feel the heat radiating off him through his damp t-shirt. "You are wet," she noted breathlessly. "You are messy," he countered, a smile playing on his lips. He let go of her arm slowly. "Go to sleep, Maya. You have a pitch to win tomorrow." Maya nodded, stepping back. "Good night, Liam. Good night, Maya." She turned and ran back to the door. Before she left, she looked back. Liam was standing in the mist, watching her. He didn't look like a CEO. He looked like a man who had just found something he didn't know he was looking for. The boardroom was intimidating enough without the cameras. But today, it was a studio. 3 cameras on tripods. A row of judges including Liam, the head of marketing, and a famous fashion editor named Miranda who wore sunglasses inside and looked like she ate dreams for breakfast. Vanessa went first. Of course she did. Vanessa stood at the front of the room with a laser pointer and a PowerPoint presentation that looked like it had been designed by NASA. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice smooth as silk. "I present to you the Sterling Gold Detox." She clicked the remote. Images flashed on the screen. Gold leaf facial masks, diamond-infused water bottles, yoga mats made of recycled cashmere. "We elevate the brand by exclusivity," Vanessa explained. "We charge $500 for a bottle of water. Why? Because the price is the product. It tells the world I am better than you." Miranda, the editor, nodded approvingly. "Chic," she murmured. Liam sat in the center. His face was unreadable. He tapped his pen on the table. "Thank you, Vanessa." Vanessa sat down, shooting a smug look at Maya. "Beat that, dirt girl." Maya stood up. She walked to the front of the room. She did not have a remote. She did not have a PowerPoint. She was holding a cardboard box. She set the box on the sleek conference table. It was stained with a little bit of mud. Miranda wrinkled her nose behind her sunglasses. Maya took a deep breath. She looked at Liam. He gave her a barely perceptible nod. "Go on," his eyes said. "Break the pot." "Hi," Maya said. Her voice shook a little, then steadied. "I do not have a slide deck. I have this." She reached into the box and pulled out a large, gnarly, ugly root. It looked like a potato that had been in a nuclear accident. It was covered in dirt. "This is a ginger root," Maya said. Miranda looked horrified. "Is that soil on the mahogany?" Maya ignored her. It is ugly, Maya continued. It is rough. It grows in the dark. If you saw this in a store next to a shiny apple, you would pick the apple. She walked closer to the judges. But inside, this ugly root is healing. It cures nausea. It fights inflammation. It warms you from the inside out. She looked at Liam. Vanessa wants to sell you gold water. She wants to sell you a mask, a covering. Maya placed the root gently in front of Liam. I want to sell you the root. She stepped back. My pitch is called the Sterling Roots Program. No more VIP lounges. No more diamond water. Community gardens. Mental health workshops where people get their hands dirty. We stop trying to escape our lives and we start trying to grow through them. She gestured to the root. We are all broken. We are all messy. Sterling shouldn't be a place to hide that. It should be a place to plant it. Silence filled the room. Vanessa scoffed loudly. Community gardens. This is a luxury brand, Maya. Not a hippie commune. We are selling fantasy. I think people are tired of fantasy, Maya shot back. I think they are starving for something real. Miranda took off her sunglasses. She looked at the dirty root. She looked at Maya. It is provocative, Miranda admitted. Liam picked up the ginger root. He held it in his hand, feeling the weight of it. He remembered the conversation in the greenhouse. You cannot have the beauty without the mess. He looked at Maya. His eyes were soft, proud. It is honest, Liam said. He placed the root down. Thank you, Maya. Maya sat down. Her legs were trembling. She had done it. She had pitched dirt to billionaires. Vanessa leaned over to her. Cute speech, she hissed. But look at his face. He is a businessman. He will never pick the root over the gold. Maya looked at Liam. He was writing something on his notepad. He looked serious, cold again. Maybe Vanessa was right. Maybe the greenhouse moment was just a moment. In the light of day, money always won. But then Liam looked up. He caught Maya's eye and he winked. It was so fast the cameras missed it, but Maya saw it. Her heart did a somersault. The game was not over yet. The following afternoon, the atmosphere at the Sterling Resort pool was tense. It was the final challenge before the winner was announced, the photo shoot. The theme was eco-elegance. The pool was an infinity edge masterpiece overlooking the ocean. Hydrangeas and white roses were arranged in massive vases. Reflectors and light diffusers were set up everywhere. Maya was in the dressing tent. A stylist was zipping her into a dress that cost more than her van. It was stunning. Emerald green silk. Backless. It flowed like water. You look adequate, the stylist said, which was high praise from her. Maya looked in the mirror. She didn't recognize herself. The makeup artist had done something magical to her eyes. Her hair was in soft waves. She looked like she belonged. For the first time, she felt a flicker of confidence. Maybe I can do this. She stepped out of the tent. Her shoes were strappy silver stilettos. Aunt Karen had insisted she practice walking in heels all week, and she was actually managing not to wobble. Vanessa was already by the pool, wearing a gold sequined gown. She looked like a trophy come to life. When she saw Maya, her eyes narrowed. She saw the confidence. She saw the way the crew stopped to look at Maya in the green dress. Vanessa panicked. She walked over to the rack where the shoes were kept. Maya had taken her heels off for a moment to let the stylist adjust the hem. Vanessa looked around. The cameras were focused on Liam, who was talking to the photographer on the other side of the pool. No one was watching. She reached into her clutch and pulled out a small pair of cuticle scissors. Quick as a viper, she grabbed Maya's left shoe. She found the thin leather strap that held the ankle buckle. Snip. She didn't cut it all the way through, just enough. Just a partial tear. She placed the shoe back. 2 minutes later, Maya returned. She slipped her feet into the shoes. Okay, the director shouted. Maya, you are up. Walk to the edge of the pool, turn, and give us Goddess of Nature. Maya took a deep breath. She stepped onto the pool deck. The sun was shining, the water sparkled. Liam was watching her, his arms crossed, an intense focus on his face. Walk, Maya told herself, be the goddess. She strutted, 1 step, 2 steps. She felt good. She felt powerful. She reached the edge of the pool. She planted her left foot to pivot. Snap. The strap gave way instantly. The shoe disintegrated. Maya's ankle rolled violently. There was no time to correct, no time to save it. Her arms windmilled. She grasped for something, anything. Her hand closed around a giant vase of hydrangeas. It did not help. It just meant she had company on the way down. Ah, splash. Maya hit the water hard. The vase hit the water harder. Flowers exploded everywhere. White petals rained down like confetti. Maya surfaced, gasping. Her mascara was running. Her hair was plastered to her face. The expensive green dress was heavy, dragging her down. She stood up in the shallow end, coughing water. She looked up. The entire crew was frozen in horror. The photographer had lowered his camera. Vanessa was covering her mouth with a hand that was definitely hiding a smirk. And Liam was standing at the edge of the pool. He was looking down at her. Maya wiped her eyes. She felt the familiar sting of humiliation. It was the lobby all over again. The mud, the oyster, now this. I am sorry, she choked out. The shoe. It just broke. She waited for him to yell. She waited for him to fire her, but Liam did not yell. He looked at the wet, shivering girl in the ruined dress surrounded by floating hydrangeas. Keep shooting, he barked at the photographer. The photographer blinked. What? Shoot her, Liam ordered. Now, he stepped to the edge of the pool. He did not care about his Italian leather shoes. He crouched down, extending a hand toward Maya. Take my hand, Maya, he said. Maya looked at his hand, then she looked at his face. He wasn't looking at her like a mess. He was looking at her like she was art. She reached up. Her wet hand grasped his dry one. Click, click, click. The camera shutter went crazy. Liam pulled her up. As she emerged from the water, dripping and chaotic, she started to laugh. It was a hysterical, relieved laugh. Liam smiled back at her. A full, dazzling smile that hit her harder than the cold water. The photo that was captured in that moment was not eco-elegance. It was raw. It was real. It was a man pulling a woman out of a disaster and looking like he would happily dive in with her. It was the cover of a romance novel. It was the shot that would sell 1 billion vacations. But Maya didn't know that yet. All she knew was that Liam was holding her hand, and for the first time in her life, she didn't want to let go. The water in the pool was cold, but the towel Liam wrapped around Maya's shoulders was warm. He had not called an assistant to do it. He had grabbed a plush white towel from the stack, unfolded it himself, and draped it over her shivering frame like a protective cape. Are you okay? He asked, his voice low enough that the microphone's boom poles could not pick it up. Maya nodded, her teeth chattering slightly. I am fine, just wet. And I think I swallowed a petal. Liam smoothed the wet hair back from her forehead. His hand lingered for a second longer than was professional. You were excellent, he said. Maya looked at him, confused. Excellent. I fell in a pool, Liam. I destroyed a $3,000 dress and killed a hydrangea arrangement. Liam looked over at the photographer, who was currently staring at the display screen of his camera with an expression of religious awe. Look at that, the photographer whispered. He turned the screen toward them. The image was breathtaking. It was chaos frozen in high definition. The water droplets were suspended like diamonds in the air. Maya's head was thrown back in laughter, her neck long and elegant, her expression one of pure, unadulterated joy. And Liam was leaning toward her, his hand gripping hers, his tailored suit strained across his shoulders, his face stripped of all corporate coldness. He looked like a man who had just saved the only thing in the world that mattered. That, the photographer said, tapping the screen, is the campaign. We call it Dive In. Vanessa, standing off to the side, wrapped in her own towel, dry, perfect, and completely ignored, looked like she had swallowed a lemon. This is ridiculous, she snapped, stepping forward. She ruined the shot. It is unprofessional. It is sloppy. Liam turned to Vanessa. His face hardened instantly. The warmth he had shown Maya evaporated, replaced by the icy CEO mask. Sloppy, he repeated. He looked down at Maya's feet. She was barefoot now, holding her ruined shoes in her hand. He reached out. May I? He asked. Maya handed him the shoes. The left one dangled sadly, the strap severed. Liam lifted the shoe closer to his face. He examined the broken strap. His eyes narrowed. He ran a thumb over the leather, then he looked at Vanessa. "Go to the holding room," he said quietly, "both of you." But Liam, Vanessa started. Now Liam barked. The command cracked through the air like a whip. Vanessa shut her mouth. She turned on her heel and marched toward the villa. Maya looked at Liam. He was still holding her broken shoe, staring at it as if it were a murder weapon. "What is it?" she asked. Liam looked at her. "Go get changed, Maya. Put on something dry. Meet me in the library in 20 minutes. He paused, and Maya, she turned back. "Do not wear heels. Sneakers are fine." The library of the Sterling estate smelled of old paper and justice. 20 minutes later, Maya sat on a leather sofa, wearing her jeans and a fresh flannel shirt. Her hair was damp, drying into messy waves around her face. Vanessa sat on the opposite sofa. She was still in her gold sequin gown, looking like a disco ball that had crashed a funeral. Liam stood by the fireplace. He held the broken silver shoe in one hand and a tablet in the other. "This is a very interesting shoe," Liam began, pacing slowly across the Persian rug. Vanessa rolled her eyes. "Can we get this over with, Liam? I have a spa appointment at 4 p.m. Liam ignored her. He held up the shoe, Italian leather, reinforced stitching. Designed to withstand 50 pounds of torque, he looked at Vanessa, and yet it snapped cleanly. He walked over to the table and picked up a small, silver object. Maya squinted. It was a pair of cuticle scissors. "Security found these in the changing tent," Liam said, "tucked behind the mirror." Vanessa crossed her arms. "So, a stylist probably left them there." Liam tapped the tablet screen. "We have cameras in the tent, Vanessa. Not inside the changing stalls, of course, but in the common area." He turned the tablet around. On the screen, grainy black and white footage played. It showed Vanessa looking around furtively, grabbing Maya's shoes from the rack and making a quick, precise snipping motion. The silence in the room was heavy. Maya stared at the screen, her mouth open. "You cut my shoe," she whispered. "You could have broken my ankle." Vanessa didn't flinch. She didn't apologize. She didn't cry. She laughed. "Oh, grow up, Maya. It is a competition." She stood up, smoothing her sequins. "She is a clumsy disaster, Liam. I just helped nature take its course. I did you a favor. She would have tripped eventually. I just ensured it happened when the cameras were rolling so everyone could see how unpolished she really is." She looked at Liam, batting her eyelashes. "I was protecting the brand, Liam. You cannot have a brand ambassador who falls down. It is bad for business." Liam looked at her. His expression was one of profound boredom. "You are disqualified," he said simply. Vanessa froze. "Excuse me." "You are out," Liam repeated. "Pack your bags. A car will take you to the airport in 1 hour." Vanessa's face turned red. The mask of perfection slipped. "You cannot be serious. You are choosing her, the gardener, over me." "I am," Liam said. "Why?" Vanessa screeched. "She is a mess. She smells like dirt. She talks to plants. I have 2 million followers. I am perfection." Liam walked over to Maya. He stood next to her, a solid wall of defense. "Perfection is cheap, Vanessa," he said calmly. "I can buy perfection. I can hire 1,000 models who know how to walk in heels." He looked down at Maya. "But I cannot buy integrity, and I cannot buy a soul." He turned back to Vanessa. "You tried to hurt her. That is not protecting the brand. That is weakness. And I do not tolerate weakness. Get out." Vanessa stood there for a moment, her chest heaving. She looked from Liam to Maya. "Fine," she spat. "Enjoy your little charity case, Liam. But when she embarrasses you at the Global Gala next week, do not come crying to me." She stormed out of the library, slamming the heavy oak door so hard the windows rattled. Crash. Silence returned to the room. Maya let out a long breath she had been holding. She slumped back against the sofa cushions. "Wow," she said, "she really hates me." Liam sat down on the coffee table in front of her. He placed the broken shoe gently on the floor. "She is jealous," he said. "Jealous." Maya laughed dryly. "Of what?" "My overdraft fees. My ability to attract mud. Of your light, Liam said. Maya looked up. Liam was looking at her with that intensity again, the look that made her forget how to breathe properly. You shine, Maya, he said softly, even when you are covered in pond water, especially then. Maya blushed. She looked down at her hands. So, I won. Liam nodded. You won. Maya felt a rush of relief. $1 million. The shop was saved. Aunt Karen was defeated. But then a wave of guilt washed over her. She looked at Liam. He was honest, he was trusting her, and she was sitting here, a fraud who had been forced into this by a blackmailing aunt. I need to tell you something, she said, her voice trembling. Liam tilted his head. What is it? Maya stood up. She walked to the window, looking out at the gray ocean. Not here, she said. Can we go somewhere? Real. The private balcony of Liam's penthouse suite was the highest point in the Sterling headquarters. It was windy up here. The wind whipped Maya's hair around her face. Below them, the city lights of Seattle were starting to flicker on as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of bruised purple and charcoal. Liam leaned against the railing, holding 2 glasses of water. He handed one to Maya. No champagne. Maya asked with a weak smile. I thought we should keep it simple, Liam said. No slippery glass. Maya took the water. She gripped the glass tightly. Okay, she said. Here it goes. She took a deep breath. I am not who you think I am. Liam took a sip of water. He didn't look surprised. Go on. I did not enter this competition because I love the brand, Maya confessed. I entered because my Aunt Karen forced me. She forged my signature. She wrote the essay. She turned to look at him. I am in debt, Liam. Huge debt. My dad left me the flower shop, but he also left me loans I cannot pay. Aunt Karen owns the debt. She told me if I did not come here and win the money, she would foreclose on the shop and sell it to a developer. Tears pricked her eyes. She blinked them away angrily. I am a fraud. I am just here for the money. I am not a brand ambassador. I am just a desperate florist who is trying to save her dad's legacy. She waited for the anger. She waited for him to call security. She waited for him to tell her she was just as bad as Vanessa. Instead, Liam set his glass down on the railing. He turned to face her fully. I know, he said. Maya froze. What? I ran a background check on all the finalists, Liam said calmly. I know about the debt. I know about the liens on the greenhouse. I know your Aunt Karen is the creditor. Maya's mouth fell open. You knew, and you let me stay. Liam stepped closer. The wind ruffled his dark hair. I wanted to see what you would do, he said. I wanted to see if you would play the game like Vanessa, if you would lie, if you would pretend to be someone you are not. He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. His fingers were warm against her cold skin, but you didn't. You came here and you told the truth. You threw oysters. You talked to plants. You pitched a dirty root in a boardroom. He smiled, a soft, genuine smile that reached his eyes. You did not break the rules, Maya. You broke the facade, but I lied on the application. Maya protested. Your aunt lied, Liam corrected. You just survived. He took her hand. His grip was firm, grounding. I do not care about the application, Maya. I do not care about the debt. Then what do you care about? She whispered. You, he said simply. The word hung in the air between them, heavy and sweet. I care that you make me laugh, Liam said. I care that you look at a dying plant and see potential. I care that you are the first person in 10 years who has looked at me and seen a man, not a bank account. He stepped closer. There was barely an inch of space between them now. You are enough, Maya. You with your muddy boots and your messy hair, you are exactly what I need. Maya felt a tear slide down her cheek. But I am clumsy, she sniffed. I will break things. Liam laughed softly. Let us break them together. He leaned in. Maya closed her eyes. She felt his breath on her cheek. She smelled the sandalwood and the rain, and then his phone buzzed. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Liam pulled back, sighing. He looked at the screen. It is the legal team, he said, his voice thick with frustration. He looked at Maya apologetically. We have to go down. The contracts are ready. Your aunt is in the lobby. Maya felt the cold reality rushing back in. Aunt Karen, the money, the debt. Right, she said, stepping back. Business. Liam put his phone away. He looked at her with a fierce determination. "Do not worry about Karen," he said. "Trust me." "I do," Maya said, and she was surprised to find that she meant it. The conference room was cold again. Aunt Karen sat at the head of the table like she owned the building. She was wearing a new coat, probably purchased on credit in anticipation of the winnings. Cousin Tiffany was next to her, live streaming herself. "Hey guys, we are just waiting for the check," Tiffany chirped into her phone. "#winning #rich family." The door opened. Liam walked in, followed by Maya and a team of 3 lawyers who looked like they were carved out of granite. Karen stood up, beaming. "Mr. Sterling, a pleasure. We are so proud of our Maya." She reached out to hug Maya, but Maya stepped sideways. Karen hugged the air. "Let us get to it," Liam said, sitting down. He slid a thick folder across the table. "The contract for the brand ambassador position," he said. "1-year term, $1 million signing bonus." Karen's eyes lit up. She practically snatched the pen. "Wonderful. Where do we sign?" "One moment," the lead lawyer said. He was a man with glasses so thick they magnified his eyes to terrifying proportions. "We have a small compliance issue." Karen froze. "Compliance?" The lawyer opened a file. "According to the application submitted by Mrs. Karen Miller, Maya Miller is the sole proprietor of the greenhouse." "Yes, yes," Karen waved her hand. "A technicality." The lawyer adjusted his glasses. "However, the terms of the competition require that the winner be the legal and financial beneficiary of their business entity." He pulled out a tax document. "Our audit shows that the greenhouse is currently under a lien held by." He checked the paper. "Event Horizon Planning, LLC, owned by Karen Miller." Karen's smile became tight. "So, I am managing her finances." "It is a family arrangement." The lawyer shook his head. "It is a conflict of interest. Furthermore, the application stated that the business was solvent." "It is not. That is fraud, Mrs. Miller." Karen slammed her hand on the table. "This is ridiculous. We won. Give us the check." Liam leaned forward. "The contract is void, Karen," Maya gasped. "Liam," Karen turned purple. "Void. You cannot do that. We will sue. We will go to the press." Liam held up a hand. "I am voiding the brand ambassador contract," he said calmly. "Which means the prize money attached to that contract is also void." Karen looked like she was going to have a stroke. Tiffany stopped live streaming, but Liam continued, his voice cutting through the tension. "I am hiring Maya Miller." He pulled out a second, smaller folder, not as a brand ambassador, but as a private botanical consultant for the Sterling estate. He slid the folder to Maya. "The salary for this position is unique." Maya opened the folder. Inside was a single check. It was made out to Maya Miller. The amount was $1 million, and underneath there was an employment contract. Clause 1, Maya read aloud, her voice shaking. "The consultant reports directly to the CEO. The consultant is required to bring her own plants." She looked up at Liam. Clause 2, Liam added, smiling. "The consultant's salary is a personal payment from the CEO's private trust. It is not business income. Therefore, it is not subject to any existing business liens." He looked at Aunt Karen. "Which means, Karen, that this money belongs to Maya, and only Maya." Karen stared at the check. She did the math. If the money was personal income, she couldn't touch it to satisfy the business debt unless Maya chose to pay it. And since the business debt was the leverage Karen had. You cannot." Karen sputtered. "I just did," Liam said. He turned to Maya. "It is your money, Maya. You can use it to pay off the loan on the shop if you want. Or you can let the shop foreclose, buy it back at auction with your new cash, and cut her out completely." Liam's gray eyes sparkled. "I recommend the second option." Maya looked at Karen. For years, this woman had controlled her life. She had bullied her, belittled her, and treated her like a servant. Maya closed the folder. She hugged it to her chest. "I think," Maya said slowly, looking Karen in the eye, "I think I will buy a new lock for the shop and maybe a new van." She turned to Liam. "And I accept the job." Karen shrieked. It was a high, bird-like sound. "Come on, Tiffany, we are leaving." She grabbed her bag and stormed out. Tiffany looked at Maya, then at Liam. "Can I still get a selfie?" she asked. "Out," Liam said. Tiffany ran. The door closed. Maya looked at the check. Then she looked at Liam. "You are a genius," she whispered. "I am a businessman," he corrected. "I make good investments." He stood up and walked around the table. "And you, Maya Miller, are the best investment I have ever made." 6 months later, the greenhouse did not look like a shack anymore. The windows were clean. The roof was fixed. And the sign out front was freshly painted, "The Greenhouse and Sterling Roots." Inside, the shop was a jungle of healthy, vibrant plants. Maya stood at the counter arranging a bouquet of wildflowers. She was wearing a new flannel shirt. This one was clean and her hair was in a bun that was only slightly messy. The bell chimed. Maya looked up, smiling. "Hey, stranger." Liam walked in. He was not wearing a suit. He was wearing jeans and a soft gray sweater. He looked relaxed, happy. He was holding a coffee in one hand and a bag of potting soil in the other. "I come bearing gifts," he said. He walked behind the counter and kissed her. It was a slow, deep kiss that tasted of coffee and promise. "How is business?" he asked, leaning against the counter. "Booming," Maya said. "The new community garden program is full, and Monty," she pointed to the corner. Monty the Monstera was sitting in a brand new hand-painted ceramic pot. He was huge. And right in the center, a bright, shiny, perfect green leaf was unfurling. "He has a new leaf," Maya whispered. Liam smiled. He wrapped his arm around her waist. "See," he said, "growth." Maya rested her head on his shoulder. "I still dropped a cactus on my foot this morning," she admitted. Liam laughed. "I know, I saw the bandage." He kissed the top of her head. "You are still a mess, Maya." Maya looked up at him, grinning. "Yeah, but I am your mess." Liam looked around the shop, then back at her. "Yes, you are." And as the rain fell softly on the streets of Seattle, washing away the gray and leaving everything green and alive, Liam Sterling finally realized that perfection was overrated. Real life was much, much better.